هاي تبع فارس. هات بنت. مؤقتا هيك احسن. محمود وبلال بتلعبوا طبعا تي اف تي، وين بتلعبوا باي سيرفر؟ شو الرانكات؟
Keep still. The dragon nears. I demand tribute.
Good. انتي هيل. هايبر رول جميلة، بس هايبر رول بدها سرعة. إذا أنت مش سريع بتضيع معاهم. بدك تكون كثير جدا سريع. عشان ما انسى بدل مورديكايزر بهذا. مية بالمية. هاي مشكلة الهايبر رول. او مش مشكلة، هي هاي حلاوة الهايبر رول. قلبوا لنفس الايتمز. ولا مرة جبت الدريج، ولا مرة. حاولت في واحدة من الجيمز، خلص ضايل لي 1 امبلم وكانت على الكاروسيل، واحد مسقع ضلوا يمشي وراها عشان انا ماخذهاش، وطلعت انا اخذها. شيب شيفتر، لا لا. كيبرز ممكن. ري از براود، لا. ايش سبورت؟
Stop moving, please. You'd make a great still life.
مؤقتا. شوف ثواني هاي احنا نخسرها. الباتش هاي بشكل عام انا ما حبيتها، او مش الباتش، الست كامله هاي انا ما حبيتها. فيها كثير مشاكل، وفيها كمان مشكله ثانيه اللي هي انك بتضلك تلعب نفس الرول نفس الرول او نفس الكومب، سوري، وكثير ناس عم بيلعبوا نفس الكومب زي بعض، فانت بتصفي عم تتنافس انت وثلاثة أربعة على نفس الشامبيونز. لا دي انا which is سيء جدا. نقول الكابريشيس فورج على ديانا. اولها سندرا ابيوز، بعدين اري ابيوز، بعدين خلصنا من سندرا واري ابيوز، طلع لنا ايش؟ قرف جديد اللي هو فيريز. إذا ما لعبتش فيريز أنت خسران. طبعا 8 باللوبي، 5 6 بيلعبوا فيريز. بدنا كمان ايتم مع هذا عشان يصير تانك زي العالم والناس، او ايتمز لهاي. خذي مش حنقول عليها هذا. وين اولاف؟ فيجر كمان لما صارت الميجز تنلعب. ايش اللي كان هنا؟ 3 ستار بق هاي. نسيت اخذ. بيلت لا.
Magic coming at you.
هاي أولى أخيرا. شو هاد؟ رايزن فوكس؟ طيب انت خذي هاي، خذي هورايزن فوكس. هاد وهاد. اوكي
Good boy. Ah, yeah.
هيك راح نخسر شوي لحديت ما نجيب اولاف. هيك خسرنا كثير شوي. محتاجين نعمل رول لاولاف 2 نطلع ليفل 9. مؤقتا.
I'm Yumi, and you're warm.
This is so fun.
Keep still.
براير 1 ايش هاد؟ هذا عنده أولاف.
You've got my magic evil.
Beauty and life.
لا لسه أو هات
Who you calling little?
I feel
بليسمنت زي العمى، بليسمنت زي العمى، بليسمنت تبع هذا اشي بيخزي. الحمد لله. سادس ثالث سابع الآن. كمان جيم. انت شفت كنا كل الثمانية عايشين، متنا 4 مرة واحدة. هاي اللي بتطلع هون، اشوف شو قصتها واشيلها. المفروض انها هي هاي. نشوف. فاروس مع اركان، فاروس مع اركانا كمان. الاركانا اخذوا نيرف صحيح. بالباتش الجديد. والزيراث اخذ نيرف. ممكن بعد الجيم هاي اشغل الفيديو تبع الران داون ونشوفه مع بعض. علقنا. شكلها علقت. علقت. بق.
banana.
شكرا. طلع لي من الشوب. ما توقعتش يطلع لي اصلا.
Oh yeah.
It's a good boy. Hiya.
ناس نلعب ميزيس.
I'm out. Gotta sharpen my lamp.
اركانا زيجز كمان فيه بيلعبوا. ايه اوه هاي لا هاي لا
Magic goes in, might comes out. As you wish.
خسرنا.
Here I am.
2 وورير.
Why so tense? Relax.
Our future will be bright. Okay.
اذا نلعب وورير الجنسوز نوت ا جود تشويس. اللي خسرانين anyway. ما قدرنا نجيب شيء جولد. كان بقدر بس يعني كان بدي ادفع
The dragon nears.
بدي استخدم هاي سوري لسر دوبليكيتر عشان اسوي 20 جول. مش مستاهل. يلا لوس ستريك.
Why so tense? Relax.
بس هذا الفيلد في بس 2 انتراكشنز. عندي واحد تاني في هاي وفي هاي. عندي واحد تاني عادي في يمكن 5 انتراكشنز. قرب لي الستريك. لا ووريرز بريزرفرز.
My joy endures. Here I am.
اذا طلعت لي الامبلم الوورير 6 وورير. ما شاء الله. 1 6 7 6 شيف. لا لا اكيد لا.
Magic's fine.
شوف انه
Steel's better.
اوف انا هيلثي 69 اوريدي. ما شاء الله. هاي 59 كمان 10 هيلث.
No one escapes my bow.
Victory awaits. Victory awaits.
فيورا بالله عليها او جوين بالله عليها. جوين.
Strength is the only teacher.
تمام. اذا قدرت تحط عليها ايدج اوف نايت كمان ممتاز.
I'll make this look like magic.
بلاست. طلع ليفل 7.
My joy endures.
شو هدول؟ Fiora next
Our future will be bright.
طيب بدنا سيف وبو ونخلص ايتمز فيورا. دان. ستة ووريرز. طيب بدنا فيورا، راكان، مورغانا، ميليو. خلصنا. مش عارف تقتل وورويك. لا طبعا.
I never hold back. في سيف وبو. ما فيش سيف وبو. بس في سيف وبيلد. ثاني.
Only as wild as magic.
magic may ne'er be quenched. Marvelous.
I am only as wild as magic. Challenge accepted.
What a delight. Fancy a cup of tea? I'll warm the kettle.
I can't wait.
مورغانا وميليو بدي.
I am only as wild as magic.
Sharp
Done.
blade, sharp mind.
بدي ناين. بس كنت عم بحاول اعمل 2 ستار فيورا و 2 ستار جوين على الاقل.
اوكي.
حلو، ما يطلعنا اثنين. توب فور. مش كثير منيح على جوين. الباتش الجاي رح يكون منيح. عدلوا المشكلة اللي كانت جوين مع البلوك تيست. ليش اخذت انتي هيل وانا عندي انتي هيل؟ اوكي. لا غلط اللي انا عملته غلط. بدي ارجع فيورا اخليها هي تاخذ الباف. عدا فيكم يروح على زفت. استغفر الله العظيم، تركوا هذا يضرب فينا. رابع. احنا بنضلنا نجيب 10 و18 ونخسرهم، 10 و18 ونخسرهم. نشوف الباتش ران داون. ثواني. فارس بالضبط. غلط اللي بعمله. اوكي نشوف الباتش رن داون.
Things like that, and so we're trying to make. Hey everybody, Riot Mort here, and it is time for the patch 1420 rundown. We are in the back half of the set. We're getting towards the end, towards the big serious competitions, things like that, and so we're trying to make sure the set is as balanced as possible. What we've seen so far on live is that the meta has definitely shifted into late game, a lot around Arcana, Preserve.
ثواني. ايوه. اوكي.
Preserver and Fairy. So 4 costs, very dominated 4 costs. That being said, we're not going to like balance Thrash here. We're way too late in the set. But this patch is a lot of what I'm going to call micro changes. You're going to see a lot of changes, but they're all very, very tiny. So we don't actually expect things to change a ton. But we'll go over it as we go into it. The other thing is I'm trying something different this rundown. I'm grouping up the large and the small changes by the section. So hopefully that will make you not go, wait, they're not nerfing this, and then we'll
انتوا سامعين مور دوغ بيحكي ولا لا؟
get to it quicker. So let's see how it goes and jump into it. All right, on the system side, the golems are all being buffed. Their HP is going up, their armor is going up. This is mostly because support golem 2 is being nerfed very heavily.
ثواني. سامعين مور دوغ بيحكي ولا لا؟ نبدأ من أول جديد. Patch
Hey everybody,
14.2.
Riot Mort here, and it is time for the patch 1420 rundown. We are in the
1420.
back half of the set. We're getting towards the end, towards the big serious competitions, things like that, and so we're trying to make sure the set is as balanced as possible. What we've seen so far on live is that the meta has definitely shifted into late game, a lot around Arcana, Preserver, and Fairy. So 4 costs, very dominated 4 costs. That being said, we're not going to like balance Thrash here. We're way too late in the set. But this patch is a lot of what I'm going to call micro changes. You're going to see a lot of changes, but they're all very, very tiny. So we don't actually expect things to change a ton. But we'll go over it as we go into it. The other thing is I'm trying something different this rundown. I'm grouping up the large and the small changes by the section. So hopefully that will make you not go, wait, they're not nerfing this, and then we'll get to it quicker. So let's see how it goes and jump into it. All right, on the system side, the golems are all being buffed. Their HP is going up, their armor is going up. This is mostly because support golem 2 is being nerfed very heavily, which will allow us to buff all the golems. So support golem 2 will now be a lot weaker. We'll talk about that later. But golems ended up stronger.
يعني support golem 2. I am the carry now. البورتال تبعت ايش اسمها كانت، استغفر الله العظيم، البورتال اللي بتعطيك تريتس اللي بيطلع فيها جولم. البورتال تبعت التريجر جولم، والبورتال تبعت السبورت جولم. الجولم صاروا اقوى، صار هيلثهم 50 زياده والديفنس 5 زياده سواء ارمر ولا ام ار.
The unit star up combined ceremony is now instant. This is mostly relevant when you're 3-starring a champion at the last second. We talked about this 2 patches ago. We pulled it out because we thought it was causing a bug. It wasn't. So now we can put it back in safely. This is in. Sweet. When look
هذا الاشي حلو لانه لما كنت باخر لحظه تشتري الشامبيون عشان يصير 2 ستار ولا 3 ستار ويكون التايمر عم بخلص، اذا ما لحقت خلص فت الفايت وانت معك اياه 1 ستار او 2 ستار وانت معك اياه على البنش 3 ستار. خسرت طلعت تكون انت خسرت بسبب هذا الكومباين اللي راح عليك بسبب الانيميشن.
Okay, this one's really niche, but I want to call this one out. When looking for the strongest champions, if two champs are the same character and have the same number of items, the higher star copy will always be the strongest. What this is referring to is like, let's say you're playing two tanky Nunu and in a Honeymancer comp, and you have 3 items on the 3-star Nunu, and then the 2-star Nunu, you put a 3rd item on, well, it'll instantly be the most recent, and beforehand would become the strongest, which is what you don't want. So this prevents that. It's like I said, it's a niche case, but we're handling it to make sure it just doesn't, you never really ever want that to be the case. So that has been dealt with. And then finally, we made a change to one of the portals. Let them cook.
نرجع لهاي اللي هي اللي كان بيحكي عليها when looking for the strongest champions. he won augment بس اللي راح يصير عليه هذا الحكي اللي هي 2 تانكي. يعني بهذا الباتش او بهذه الست مش زي مثلا الست اللي قبل كان والله عندك I think ديسكو كانوا مش متذكر. المهم كان عندك تشامبيونز يختار لك ال2 ستار لانه عليه ايتمز اكثر. على الان اذا عندك نفس الشامبيون وعندك واحد 2 ستارز واحد 3 ستارز بختار ال 3 ستارز. بفضل ال 3 ستارز عن ال 2 ستارز حتى لو ال 2 ستارز عليه 3 ايتمز.
Kind of devolved into pray for a reforger, use the reforger on the frying pan or the spatula to have 2 of them, and then just get like 2 portal emblems or 2 whatever emblems. Kind of defeated the purpose of the portal, so we've changed it. It is now make them cook. Same thing, you start with a spatula and a frying pan, but reforgers will not drop. It is impossible to get a reforger on this portal. You cannot get a reforger, you cannot get Pandora's items. It will not change. I've tried telling my stream this, they didn't get it, they kept asking questions about it, but I'm telling you, there are no reforgers. So it will force you to cook. Now you can just slam it for that quick tactician's items, or you can cook. So, should be pretty fun.
شكرا. واخيرا هذا البورتال كان سيء جدا. يا 9 فيريز 9 فروست شو اسمه 10 بورتال مباشرة، واللي بلحق اول بخلص اول بجيب ال9 تبعونه او ال10 تبعونه خلص فاز. بورتال مقرفة كانت. فحاليا لتم كوك راحت بطل صار بدالها ميك كيم كوك وفيش ريفورجر عشان تغير السباتشولا لفراينج بان او تغير الفراينج بان لسباتشولا. وبرضه اوجمنت باندوراز ايتمز اللي هي برضه بتقرب لك السباتشولا لفراينج بان او العكس مش موجوده. هيك احسن لانها كانت اشي مقيت جدا هاي البورتال.
All right, on the trait side, these are the large changes. Like I said, Arcana has kind of been one of the 3 dominant things that you see at the end game right now. So we're going to be hitting pretty much all of Arcana. You could debate that the Xerath wasn't really necessary, but we don't want every game's end game to just be how much Arcana can you get. That being said, these aren't big swings. For example, Tom Kench's HP went from 75 to 65. It's still going to be good, right? We're not trying to like balance thrash these out of the meta. But they are going to be nerfed. So Hecarim AD at 4 and 5 gets nerfed. Tom Kench HP at 4 and 5 gets nerfed. Yeah, we're not even nerfing the 3. So you can still play that. And then Xerath true damage being nerfed at the 3, the 4, and the 5. So, yeah.
الآن كنا نتبهدل من ورا فاروس بسبب هاي أركانا. ممتاز هاي كمان. بس المشكلة إنه وين؟ إنه 2 و 3 لساتهم زي ما هم على هيكرم وتامكنش واللي هم التنين الدوميننت. يعني اللي بده يلعب مثلا فارس أركانا باخد هيكرم وباخد تامكنش مبدئيا. آري مش مهم كتير لأنها بتعطيك اي بي وانت عم تلعب شو اي دي بدك الاي دي فبتاخد هيك بتاخد الأركانا تريت تبعت هيكرم. لا نهائيا ممتازة 6 شوجر كرافت وذ 4 هانتر. هلا بتشوف بعد ما غيروا شويه اشياء فيها. ثواني هلا بتشوف.
Bastion. Bastion has been something that is basically unplayable past 2. This is one of our bigger swings. The 4-piece is getting 5 more armor and MR. The 6-piece is getting 25 more armor and MR. And the 8-piece should actually be a playable comp. Literally just won with it on stream last game. But 200 armor and MR, this thing should be tough to deal with. We do want Bastion to be something that is playable, so it's getting buffed. Eldritch.
باستيون واحدة من التريتس اللي كنا في السيتس اللي قبل، تحط باستيون قدام، تحط وراهم كري، خلص انت هيك حليت امورك. الان باستيون يوسلس، ما بتستفيدش منها بولا اشي. بس مع هذه الباف، خاصة اذا بيطلع لك الاوجمنت ريد بوس مع هذا الباف، اوف شو ممتاز. يعني انا شفت الجيم اللي لعبها اللي فاز فيها قبل ما يعمل الران داون. كان عنده حاطط امبلم باستيون على ووكونغ، وصل الارمر والام ار 780 بيموتش، فيش دمج، مش عم تعمل عليه دمج اصلا.
This is another one that we're trying to buff up a bit as well. The AP per star level, this should be red. It is a nerf. The star scaling on Eldridge is actually secretly OP. Not many people have figured this out, but if you can somehow get like 3-star Ashe, 3-star Elise, 3-star Syndra, 3-star Neela, and then hit 7 Eldridge, it's actually insane. But because of that, we're going to lower the amount of AP it gets so that we can buff it elsewhere. And so the buffs here, 3-piece is getting buffed at every stage, so Eldridge should be a stronger opener. 5-piece is getting some pretty massive buffs here. If you look at the stage 4 and stage 5 numbers, they went from 1.6, 1.75 to 2, 2.5. This means 5 Eldridge is going to have a lot more HP in the late game. So if you're stuck at 5 Eldridge for a little while, it won't be as detrimental. And then the 7-piece actually doesn't need as big a buff. It's still getting some extra HP as well. But 7 Eldridge is actually pretty good. And so our goal here is buff the things that get you to 7 Eldridge with a little more power. And it should be pretty playable here. So hopefully Eldridge ends up being playable.
Eldridge هي من أسوأ الكومبز اللي عم تلعب حاليا. يعني ممكن تطلعك ستيج 2 ستيج 3 ستيج 4 ستيج 5 بتوقع، زي كأنك ما بنيت كل الشغل اللي انت اشتغلته راح على الفاضي. مع هاي الباف راح تصير احسن شوي، بس هذا لا يعني انها صارت ممتازة انه يلا نلعب Eldritch مباشرة. خلينا بنشوف بس بتبلش الجيم او بس بلش الباتش.
Mage, we did some calculations, and 3 Mage is actually like really bad for a trait, and Mage has been kind of struggling all set, with the exception of the patch where you could play like the Vagar Vex line, and even then you mostly played 5 Mage, you didn't really play 7 Mage. So Mage is going to get a buff here. 3 Mage is going to go to 85, 5 is going to go to 100, and 7 is going to go to 125. Now, I will say from my PvE testing, mages look a little strong, so we're going to, if they end up too strong, we will react very quickly. But calling it out that like there is a little bit of risk here, but we want mages to be another playable line. So calling that out, calling the shot, we'll see where they end up.
مش قلت لك عملوا بف للميج؟ الميج اجت واحدة من الباتشز الكل بيلعب ميج 3 ستار فيكس 3 ستار فيجر، خلص انت ضمنت انك جبت توب 4 على الاقل. بعدين عملوا لها نيرف، خسفوا فيهم الارض، صارت ما تلعبش اصلا ومش ورث اللعب. وحتى لو انك جبت 7، الوحيد اللي ورث كانت انك تجيب 10 ميج، و10 ميج يعني جدا صعبة. بدك 3 امبلمز، 3 امبلمز. يعني حتى لو طلع لك، حتى لو كانت في لدم كوك قبل ما يغيروها طبعا هلا، بدك كان رود وبان ورود وبان، وتطلع لك كمان الامبلم من الاوجمنتس، وتوصل ليفل 10.
Portal is another trait that actually is pretty strong, and you might be wondering why it needs buffs. But the problem with Portal is that it falls off a cliff. If you have 8 Portal going into stage 5, it'll fall off really, really hard. And so specifically what we're buffing here is the things that actually scale with your army strength, so that your army will be a bit stronger, but without buffing like the Portal bombs or the Portal units. So here what you're getting is the Jarvan.
هي الكاري الوحيد اللي وورث في الالدريتش كان براير، وبراير ما بدكاش الدريتش عشان تفوز، يعني بدك شيب شيفترز ممتاز، امورك ممتازه.
Standard that comes out will give more attack speed at 3 and 5, and again, more attack speed with a bunch of bad units isn't going to help, but if you've got, good equipped units, this should be nice. And the snacks heal at 6 and 8 will also get buffed. They'll heal more % of your units, and again, if they're healing itemless units, that's not very good. But this should be a small buff to help Portal scale up at the 6 and the 8. All right, more.
بورتال جيدة، يعني ما إذا بتلعب 8 بورتال عفوا مش سيئة، في big opportunity إنك تجيب توب 4 يعني.
More large ones. Fairy's in a weird spot right now. Fairy's very frustrating to fight against. If you've ever fought a Rakan 2, Callista 1, and that Rakan just never dies, and you're like, guess I'll die, because Rakan certainly isn't. But that being said, the Fairy vertical is actually not that good. So you're seeing a pretty big power shift here. Fairy 3 and 5 are going to lose some HP, so it's harder to get to that spot. But when you hit 7, you're going to get a little bit more HP. Seems fair. When you have 7 or 9, again, trying to reward the vertical here, the crowns will do more damage. So those crowns will get a bit of a buff. Now, here's the big swing. The armor itself is going to get its healing and shielding amp cut from 25% to 20%. And the healing from Queen, this is the thing that was keeping the 5 Fairy Rakan alive forever, cut from 12% to 5%. This is a big nerf. This should make Rakan actually eventually die, maybe. Now, to compensate, because we didn't want to kill this, it is getting 150 extra HP on the armor. A little bit of flat health, not bad. Radiant armor follows similar, but not nearly as big a nerf, because we don't really need to nerf 9 Fairy that much, but it gets 500 extra HP, loses 10% on the heal shielding amp, and only 5% on the healing Queen. So again, the goal here is you should hopefully see maybe some more 7 Fairies, but less 5 Fairy unkillable Rakans off a Callista 1. So, yeah.
فيري بالست هذا كانت ماخذة نيرف اوريدي، وستيل كانت اس تير. يعني اذا زي ما قال اذا عندك ركان عليه ايتمز صح، عليه الارمر اللي كوينز ارمر، بموتش. صعب جدا صعب، بدك يمكن 2 ايتمز انتي هيل عشان تعرف تتعامل معه. ان شاء الله يكون هذا تحسين، وان شاء الله ما يكونش دمر الفيريز. I did لعبت ضد 3 ستار ركان ب 3 ستار اولاف، اوكي ما عملش اشي. 3 ستار اولاف من هون لخلص ركان كان كل التيم تبعي ميت، وكاليستا قتلت اولاف.
And then Preserver, this is the other late game comp that you see a ton of. 3, 4, 5 Preservers, Morgana, Rakan, Bard, all that stuff. So Preserver getting a slight touchdown on both the HP and Mana Regen at 3, 4, and 5. 2 Preserver, still a solid splash. So, yeah. And then Shapeshifter. Shapeshifter is another vertical that's been struggling. It's going to get a small buff here at the 4, the 6, and the 8. This is supposed to help champions like Nasus, Nasus, Nico, and Swain. So, yeah. Sugar.
Shapeshifters أول باتش تلعبهم مع سندرا، بعدين نون اكزيستنت، يعني باستثناء براير يوسلس. الشيبشيفتر يعني كان ناسوس في فترة أول ما نزلت السيت ما يموتش. كان لما يضرب الالتيميت تبعته، هو بسحب هيلث من اللي حواليه، بسحب من التيم اللي ضده هيلث، ما يموت. فجأة ناسوس صار هو قلت واحد سهل تقتله، وركان اللي كان يوسلس صار ما يموتش.
Sugarcraft is getting a buff of all of its stats by about 10%. Goes from 20, 30, 35 to 22, 33, 36. And then the bigger buff, I think this is a pretty big buff, don't sleep on this one, is that if you're only running the 2-piece for a while, you're actually going to get 50% more sugar. So you can actually build those stacks earlier from the 2-piece and then go to the 4-piece. Or even, I've had pretty successful games where you're just running the 2-piece all game, and you can even make it to like the final stack with just the 2-piece. So Sugarcraft should have some more options. This should help champs like Soraka, Jinx, Gwen, stuff like that. And yes, I'm sure people are going, Gwen, she doesn't need help. We'll get to that.
فاينلي رجع شوجر كرافت. يعني شوجر كرافت كانت اذا بتجيب 6 شوجر كرافت عفوا وبتعمل ماكس للكيك كانت وورثت. خلص انت فايز الجيم. حاليا شوجر كرافت لا تلعبها، طلعت لك الاملم لا تاخذها، مش وورثت.
And then Witchcraft is in a weird...
طبعا مع الابديت هذا طبعا راح تكون مختلفة جدا، خاصة مع هذا الابديت. 2 بيسز شوجر كرافت مالتيبلاير صار 3 بدل 2، يعني عن كل ايتم انت حاطه على الشامبيونز تبعونك، بدل ما كنت تاخذ 2 بوينتس للكيك راح تصير تاخذ 3 بوينتس. يعني اذا حطيت فول ايتم بدل 1 سينجل ايتم بصير انت تاخذ 6 بدل 4. I got 3-star Nasus when he used his R he got 17k HP. مان انا ب 3-star Nasus بالباتش الاولى او الثانيه غلبت 3-star زرث، كان قوي جدا لدرجه انه 3-star زرث مات منه، فاز عليه بعدين ولا كأنه موجود. ما بتشوف الناس يعني بتدور على 3-star ناسوس او بتدور على تعب حالها وتعمل ريرول عليه كثير يعني.
Weird spot, and then the 2-piece has secretly been very OP for a long time. Minus 120 flat health early game especially. Very, very, very good. But we wanted to like keep Witchcraft kind of power neutral. So we're nerfing the 2-piece. It's going down from 150 to 120. But the 4-piece is getting stronger, going from 4% bleed to 6% bleed. So Witchcraft should be stronger at 4. We've seen it do some pretty cool stuff. It works really well with the augment, by the way, the potions augment, where everyone bleeds out a lot and they last forever. So definitely some cool builds there you can try out. So, all right. And then on the traits small side, these are smaller changes that we don't think are going to change a lot, but are still...
ثواني نرجع ل
The traits small side you can try out. So Witchcraft
الباتش اللي قبل هاي 8 Witchcraft ممتازة، خلص ضمنا لك الفيرست سبوت. الباتش هاي 8 Witchcraft مش ورثت. مع هذا الابديت 2 Witchcraft مش ورثت، لكن 4 Witchcraft البويزن كثير منيح، يعني انتي هيل بلت ان.
All right. And then on the traits small side, these are smaller changes that we don't think are going to change a lot, but are still important. They only hit 1 breakpoint. 5-piece Honeymancy is going to get a buff. We've seen 3-piece be quite good, 5 less so. So the damage amp per B is going to go up 1%.
هانيمانسي تلعب 3 أو 7 بالنص، هذا 5 وهذا ما تلعبش، ما كانش ورث صح. فناد زادوا شوية 1% دمج بير بي، يعني انت هو عليه 5 بيز، يعني كل بي بتعمل 1% اكسترا، يعني تقريبا 5% زايدين الدمج.
Hunter 4 is going to get a buff. Hunter 2 is fine. Hunter 6 is great. Hunter 4, not so much. 5% more AD. Multi-Striker 3.
Hunter 4 زي الجيم اللي لعبتها للفروست، كنت حاطط 2 هانترز ما كنتش ناوي اطلع لأربعة لانها مش كثير ورثت كانت، بس يلا هيك احسن، افضل بكثير.
This trait has also been secretly very, very OP for a long time. It grants your team like plus 45% damage, which is bonkers for a 3-piece. So Multi-Striker 3 is getting lowered from 30 to 25. Also hits things like, you know, the Callista comp in that regard.
اوه في الكاليستا فليكس انت بتلعب هيكرم وكاليستا وكميل 3 عشان تاخذ الدمج الاكسترا. هيك كاليستا فليكس صار ماخذه 2 نيرفز، نيرف تبع الفيريز ونيرف تبع المالتي سترايكرز. ان شاء الله ما تبطل الهبل اللي كنا نشوفه معها.
Pyro, the 2-piece, this hits like a Pyro Varus 2. You're already getting the execute. You don't really need 10% attack speed as well. So Pyro is going to get nerfed from 10 per 5% at 2-piece. Scholar 4 is going to get 5 more AP.
راح تكون شوجر كرافت هانتر كانت جيدة. بعد النيرفز اللي اكلوها الشوجر كرافت وقعت.
This should help you transition. We've seen 2 Scholar be good, 6 Scholar be good, 4, so 5 more AP there. Vanguard 4-piece, we've seen this fall out of favor. They're going to get 5% more shielding. The 6-piece is also going to get more DR. So right now it was 15%, it'll be 20%. Now do note with this one, in-game the tooltip will still say 15%. We are aware of this bug. It is a text bug. It is still giving you 20%. It is just a tooltip bug.
فانغارد بلاسترز حنرجع نشوفها. فانغارد بلاسترز الست اللي قبلها قبل اللي احنا فيها حاليا توك اوف وقعت، هاي بدهم يرجعوها.
So the number's 20%. It says 15. You got to trust. Check your stats. It works fine. And then finally, 6 Warrior. 6 Warrior having 20% DR is a little much. It also was weird that Warrior had more DR than Vanguard. That's weird. So Warriors are going to lose 5% of their DR at the 6-piece.
ما اخذوش نيرف كثير. طالما انت عندك هيلينج زي العالم الناس وايتمز زي العالم الناس مفروض تو سرفايف. يعني 6 وورير راح تضلها فايبل.
So 6 Warrior, a little less tanky. All right. On to champions. Elise. Elise is a champion. She does exist. She's not very good. Now she's going to heal more. Cool. She should.
هذا ممكن يرجع الإليس أوجمنت. الإليس أوجمنت كانت في فترة من الفترات اس تير، حاليا اف بعطيهاش.
Be a better opener. Should help Eldridge as well. Jace. Jace has kind of fallen out of favor as well. He's going to get some more AD on his spell. Nothing crazy here, just a small buff for Jace.
Jace is useless من أول. فيعني حتى هذا البف اللي أعطوه إياه ما أظنش إنه يخليك تلعب جيس كاري مثلا.
Namzi is another one. Namzi, this should open up. We wanted Namzi reroll to be a playable thing. It hasn't quite delivered. So going to get 2 more AD back. And then if you can get 3 Dragon in, the spell is going to go all the way up to 600%. So this is a big upgrade for 3 Dragon Namzi. Definitely give that a try. Twitch. Twitch has secretly been a very, very good character.
4 warrior is enough. بس 6 warrior يعني بتفرق كثير. استنى احكي لك. 6 warrior تاخذ 25% سبيل فامب، 25% دامج امب و 20% ديورابيلتي. حاليا حتصير 15% ديورابيلتي. بس هي اللي راح يفرق معك على الستة اللي هي ال 25 دامج امب 25%، لانه الدامج امب غير عن مثلا فيزيكال دامج او ماجيكال دامج زياده. لا هو 25% على التوتال دامج اللي بتعمله. يعني اذا انت بتعمل ترو دامج 25%، بتعمل فيزيكال دامج 25%، بتعمل ماجيكال دامج 25%، بتعمل كومبينيشن 25% على كلهم.
Does a lot of damage in the early game. We decided to nerf the fall off damage. So this is if you ult somebody and the first target got hit for 100, before the second target would get hit for 90, now it'll be 80. So it's just going to nerf the fall off damage of Twitch's ult, so he's not getting as much free damage. And then Zoe's another one.
مش عارف انا ليش النيرف على تويتش يوسلس تشامبيون غير عشان يعمل بنحطه بالكوم تبع الفروست او مش الفروست بتحطه في الكوم تبع وورويك عشان يعمل انتي هيل وبس.
One here that has fallen off a little bit, so Zoe's going to get some small damage buffs. And then more importantly, if Zoe's missile will now retarget to the nearest living enemy if the target dies while it's in flight. This is supposed to help the scholar builds so that Zoe can be a playable champion. Cool. All right, then we have the small side. Again, stuff that we don't think is going to change much, but still worth calling out. Ashe is going to get a 10 mana buff. Ashe, kind of, especially with the multi-striker 3 nerf, will end up a little weaker.
Ashe مع كاتيجوري 5 كانت منيحة. بعدين بسبب فشل المالتي سترايكرز باخر 2 سيتس مالتي سترايكرز فيرتيكال انا بحكي مش مالتي سترايكر كاليستا مالتي سترايكر فيرتيكال اللي كنت تلعب 7 مالتي سترايكر او 9 مالتي سترايكر بعدين ضعفت والدريتش كمان ضعيف فاش صارت يوسلس كمان مره يعني انت بتحط اش عشان تبدلها بعدين في كاليستا بس.
So we want to make sure Ashe is compensated, gets 10 mana off her spell. Blitzcrank has been really, really strong for a while. We don't want to nerf his like ceiling, but man, when that shield lasts 6 seconds in the early game and you can't get through it, there's just no windows of killing him. It also standardizes him with basically every other shield in the game. So Blitzcrank.
Zoe's buff ما راح تخلي زوي كاري راح تخلي زوي على الأقل تشيلك ب stage 1 و stage 2 which is good لأنها قبل كنت أنت تحطها عشان ترميها بعدين وتحط بدالها شو اسمه رايز أو مثلا تشيل ايتمز عنها وتحطهم مع رايز أو إذا بدك كنت تلعب كرونو تروح تحطها تحط الايتمز تبعون كارما وبعدين تشيلها وتحط الايتمز على كارما.
Rank shield is going to be 4 seconds. Lilia is another champ that has generally fallen off, not necessarily at 3-star, but as an opener, she's just not that good. So the 1-star is going to get a little bit more healing, 2-star is going to get a bit more healing, 3-star like plus 10.
هل راح نرجع نشوف الاوجمنت تبع ليليا كمان مره ينلعب كتير مع هالشويه هيلينج اللي زياده؟
And again, this should help Fairy a little bit in the early game, especially with the armor nerfs and stuff like that. And then Poppy, same thing, shield duration, kind of getting that standardized, plus 1 whole second on that shield duration. Woo! And then we have Seraphine. Seraphine's getting a buff here. It's interesting that Twitch had only a 10% fall off and Seraphine had a 35% fall off. So Seraphine, again, hits the first target for 100. Second target would get hit for 65. Will now get hit for 70. So she'll be able to AoE a little bit better. And then Warwick.
سرافين لما كنا نلعب ميجز هي اذا تشيل واحد من الميجز تشيل سرافين لانها لهاش داعي يعني على الاقل سوراكا كانت تهيل يوسلس ما اظنش انها تصير احسن حاليا يعني كثير بس بمع باف الميجز ممكن.
Warwick is very, very strong, especially if you have a Corrupted Vamp Scepter. He'll still be strong, especially with a Corrupted Vamp Scepter. But we're nerfing his peak a little bit. Very small amount here. So his peak won't be as good. But his opener, if you have him at 1-star, he might stay alive a little longer. So, yeah. All right.
إن شاء الله. لأنه يعني آخر فترة باستيون non-existent. ممكن ديانا تلعب شوية باستيون ديانا بس أما باستيون كتانك في الفرونت لين لا بفضل فانغارد وفانغارد سيئين ترى بعد النرف اللي اخذوه.
Cost. Ari, this champ's borderline unplayable right now. I mean, there's a couple people who've made it work in EU, but generally not very good. Gonna give her a 10% buff to help her out. Just get her competing with everyone else. Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw's a weird one. Kog'Maw is like the ultimate top 4 champion. His top 4 rate is bonkers, but he never wins games, ever. It's basically like one of the lowest win rates we've ever had on a 2 cost. So trying to make changes here that shift that a bit, it's tricky because we can't just buff him because then he'd become really the ultimate top 4 machine. So we had to do some little bit of changes here. We're putting more power in his spell to see if that helps so that his spell could actually finish things off in the late game. So minus 2 AD, but spell goes down by 5 mana and hits for 20% more base on AD. It is a buff. It is a very tiny buff. You can't take a big swing here because, again, that top 4 rate is scary. But trying to help Kog'Maw a little. And then Syndra.
ترى إليس ليليا وبوبي أخذوا بف، فممكن نرجع نشوف الأوجمنتس تبعتهم. على عكس بليتس كرانك أخذ شوية نيرف، بس بليتس كرانك كوان كوست فانغارد كان كثير تانكي. يعني مثلا I would itemize بليتس كرانك over جيليو. بليتس كرانك أحسن.
Syndra is going to get a buff. Her damage numbers are now officially over where they were in the launch patch, but that just goes to show you how much that attack speed change we made in the first patch really affected her. So she's still not going to be great, I don't think, but this should at least get her more playable. If you like high roll her, maybe it works. But again, it's pretty interesting that like that cast speed change really made all the difference because our damage numbers are back here. So yeah. All right, on the small.
بالضبط. كنت تلعب برولرز ولا بروزرز بالفرونت لين تانك زي العالم والناس وتحط وراه كري. حاليا بدك تلعب بريزيرفر او بدك تلعب هذا بريزيرفر او فيري. هم التانكس اللي بيصمدوا، باقي التانكس بيموت بسرعة. شيب شيفتر بيموت، فانغارد بيموت، باستيون بيموت. فالتانكس تبعونك مش اللي هم مفروض يكونوا تانكس.
Small side, Akali, 10 mana buff. Kind of makes up for the early Pyro nerf, because that's more targeted at like Varus than it is at Akali. It should help Akali cast more and be a bit more of a carry. Galio, the spell does flat damage reduction. It's not %DR, it's flat, which is a little weird. Trying to help early Vanguard, early Mage, make Galio actually feel kind of tanky.
Flat damage spell, flat damage reduction. هل راح برضو نرجع نشوف جاليو اوجمنت؟ لا ما اظن. لا مش هالبف هذا، لانها بتعمل دامج ريدكشن مش دامج زياده إلها. اوكي لا ما اظنش جاليو.
Neela, shield duration, again trying to standardize that a bit. And then Rumble 1 and 2, this is supposed to mostly help like Sugarcraft starts. Sugarcraft openers are really reliant on Rumble, and most of the time they don't roll for Rumble 3. But Rumble 1 and 2 should be a bit tankier during the spell. So
كمان buff لSugarcraft.
Cool. All right, 3 cost. Hecarim. Still, Hecarim 3, if you can hit him, which is hard because Arcana is so contested. But he still has like the absolute highest cap in the game. So this is meant to nerf him. We're nerfing his base AD by 5, which is a pretty big nerf. But we're giving him a little bit back on the cleave just so that the cleave still feels pretty impactful. Pretty minor. Again.
I mean, الست اللي قبل هاد تروح تلعب كيتلين وكوغماو وتفوز فيهم وان كوست. ليش؟ لأنه عندك تانك قدام عم بتحمل ضرب. حاليا بتلعب العب 4 كوست كاري ورا وحط عليه حط باستيون قدام حيموتوا ويموت لك الكاري.
Again, meant to be a nerf. This is a nerf to Hecarim. Hui is another champion that has really struggled to make its place in the meta. He's just not very good. His animations are slow.
جاليو اوجمنت حاليا مع الكرونو عم باخذ ستان 9 سنين ستان، فبصفي يوزلس خاصة في الهاير رانك. ما حد عم بلعبه. يعني اذا بتروح تتفرج على الستاتس تبعت جاليو، بعرفش اذا هيك ببين ال تي اف تي متى. stats augments. ايش كان اسمها؟ ديجافو. average placement تبعها ب 4.72 4.78 ضعيف. او هذا انا بحكي لك في الدايموند. يعني انت لو بتشوف بالاميرالد مثلا محل ما انا موجود احسن شوي. اذا بتشوف بالماستر وقعت كمان. اذا بتشوف بجراند ماستر وتشالنجر وقعت كمان.
We can't really speed up the animations right now, so we're just going to give him more power. So this is a pretty chunky buff. This is bigger than 10%, so we don't usually swing that hard, but this is another one of the big swings in the patch. Hui is going to be stronger, maybe help some of the blaster comps, but less Varus blaster and more Ezreal Hui blaster. So should maybe get that in there.
فانجارد بلاستر راح ترجع وخاصة مع هوي.
Jinx, massive buff here. Not really. Tiny buff here. 2 more AD. Gonna let Jinx hit a little harder. 5 was too much, though. 5 was a 10% buff. She doesn't need a 10% buff. Remember, she's also getting the Sugarcraft buff. So we went really light here. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. We're doing tiny changes. We're in the micro change place. This is not supposed to balance Thrash. Nico, even with the shapeshifter buffs, still kind of struggles to be a tank. At 3-star, just really not very good. Gonna let her cast more. Mana cost goes down by 15. Helps a little. Still think she struggles for the most part, but again, can't go crazy.
كمان باف لشوجر كرافت ماشي 2 اي دي مش شيء وورث ات، بس شوجر كرافت انعملها باف اكثر من مره. باف للاوجمنت، باف ل رامبل، وهاي شوي صغيره ل جينكس.
All right, on the small side, Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser is getting buffed, nuffed, whatever. Shield's going to be higher, so he can be a little tankier. Shield will last longer. So, because again, his job is mostly to be a tank, but the damage amp per cast is going to go down. So he's not just going to be all of a sudden doing 5,000 damage because he's been stacking up. But again, mostly to help Eldridge be a little tankier. Synergizes well with Vanguard as well. Shields up longer. You get that Vanguard buff. Good stuff.
Another Vanguard buff.
Shen, shield duration, same thing, 4 seconds, lasts a little longer. Veigar. Veigar's weird.
Oh, another Bastion buff.
Because we buffed Mage, and Veigar is the one Mage who's already been quite successful. So we don't want to buff 3-star Veigar. That's incorrect. Kind of needs a nerf, to be honest.
No
but Veigar won in the early game. Kind of griefing. Like, actually pretty terrible. So Veigar is going to have some pretty weird spell scaling here. So Veigar is going to be the 1 star is buffed quite a bit, 2 stars buffed a little bit, and 3 stars actually nerfed. So, by the way, people are saying in Twitch chat, because I glanced over, Shen doesn't have a shield duration. This should say buff duration. He has a buff that gives himself DR. That buff duration has gone up. Sorry. So yeah, Veigar 3 nerfed. Overall, from what I've seen on PBE of all the mage problems, Veigar is actually in a good spot. So this seems to have been quite effective. Vex. Vex is getting a buff at 1 and 2 star, again, to help mages get there along the way. I will say this one has made me pretty nervous from my PvE testing. Vex looking really, really strong.
كمان بف لميجز ماشي. فيجر 3 يعني اخذ نيرف بس بف للميجز. للميجز هاي تنتين. سوري. بف للميجز بالبداية زائد بف لفيكس نيرف ل 3 ستار فيجر. بس 3 ستار فيجر كان قوي anyway. يعني 3 ستار فيجر حتى مع هاني ماتسي كان منيح.
So we'll keep an eye on that, but this again meant to help mages in the early game because mages early game suck. They're really bad. And then Wukong kind of good early, but falls off a freaking cliff. So trying to give him a little bit of shield at 2 and a little bit more shield at 3 star so he can be playable just like he used to be. And generally from what we've seen, seems pretty close. So
Wukong بدون الاوجمنت تبعته يوسلس. مع الاوجمنت تبعته توب تير. ما بعرف ليش البف هاي هلا هيك حتصير الاوجمنت تبعته عباره عن ماست تيك. خلاص تطلع لك اوجمنت بوكونج خدها دان انت فايز anyway.
Yeah. All right, 4 cost. Wow, look at all those 4 cost nerfs. We're ruining the 4 cost meta. It's going to be a reroll meta. Nah, JK. Varus does need a very slight nerf though, and again, didn't even go the full 5 AD here. Didn't want to kill Varus. From what we've seen, he's still very good, but this is a very tiny nerf to Varus to hopefully help him. Yeah. On the small side, Fiora is getting the same thing, but because she's at 75, it's actually less of a nerf. It's a much less percent nerf, so Fiora very, very tiny. Gwen, same thing, just a really microscopic spell damage nerf, and it's only the base. Her snips still scale up just as much. So
هاي النرف لشوجر كرافت وهانترز. المين 2 هانترز اللي هم المين كاريز بالهانترز التنين اخذوا نيرف. وشوجر كرافت هاي اول نيرف باخذوه شوجر كرافت.
Yeah, again, really tiny nerfs to the 4 costs here. They should still all be just as strong. And then Nasus is actually getting a buff, so that should help things. Nasus getting some HP back on his spell steal, especially at 1 star. I think this is going to make 1 star Nasus again kind of that terror he was early on, where if you get him on like stage 2 and 3, he's just bonkers. But yeah. And then 5 cost, again.
مع بف ناسوس شيب شيفترز. فاروس نيرف. عملوا نيرف لبايرو وفاروس الان. شوف النيرف اللي عملوه للبايرو اللي هي كانت ياخذ بيس 10% اتاك سبيد صار 5% اتاك سبيد، وعملوا له ونزلوا من البيس دامج تبعه 3. لكن وين النيرف القوي لفاروس اللي هو النيرف اللي اخذوه الاركانا، لانه كان معتمد على الاركانا. اذا عندك 5 اركانا وصلت ومعك فاروس كان الدمج تبعه مش منطقي. one shot اي شيء.
And ruining the 5 cost meta here, we're actually buffing Camille. Camille is going to get buffed. Her spell and hookshot AD will do more damage. Again, so you'll notice kind of the trend of this patch here is buff some of those, 1, 2, and 3 costs that are struggling, not gut the 4 and 5 costs. So, yeah. And then here.
كميل كانت عبارة عن زينة. مين كاري فور ووريرز مش هانترز. عفوا مين كاري تبعون الووريرز اللي هم فيورا وجوين صح. كميل الباف تبعها كنا كميل تجيبها عشان تكمل تريتس مش عشان تكون كاري. ان شاء الله هلا يكتي شوي كاري.
Here we have Briar getting a very slight nerf to her Ravenous bonus. Now it'll max out at 70 instead of 80. So Briar getting a tiny nerf. Milio 2, not really a big diff from Milio 1. So Milio 2 damage going to go up. Makes him kind of a beast and does help Scholar's endgame a lot. Milio 2 is quite good. And if you have Milio 2, maybe he'll give you some extra gold and items. The chance for that will go up. Cool. Cool. Nora. This is another one where we're trying to nerf the 1-star Nora, especially the Yumi side of things, and buff the 2-star. So 1-star Nora will heal a little less, 2-star will heal a little more. And then the AP and AD granted, which I think this was non-symmetrical because they wanted, like, the odds you were going to put it on an AD champ were lower, but it's very confusing. So they're just equal now. It's 3 and 6. So, yeah. And then poor
لا كميل كانت بلس 1 لمالتي سترايكر او بلس 1 لكرونو.
Smolder. Poor
نيرف نورا انا اللي مش عارف ليش. نورا يعني زي كميل زيادة عدد. يعني unless انك بتعملها يعني والله 2 ستار وبتحط عليها البيرفكت ايتمز مع ميجز، مش عارف بزيادة عدد مش worth it انك تدور عليها. طبعا 3 ستار موضوع تاني، احنا بنحكيش عن 3 ستار.
Poor Smolder, our silly rambunctious dragon that likes to fly into death and get himself killed and then do no more damage because he's dead. Well, at least we can give him some armor and MR on his scales so that maybe when he flies into the middle he won't die as much. Yeah, poor Smolder.
سمولدر مع الميتنز عبارة عن شيء مقرف تتعامل معاه، بس يعني it's funny وما كانش عندي مشاكل معاها. سمولدر يعني بركي صار شوي صغيرة أحسن، يعني على الأقل مع البلاسترز.
All right, items. There are some item changes. Blue buff. Blue buff is quite a bit better than Shojin. We do want it to be better than Shojin on like a 30 mana user, but maybe not 8% better. So we're going to lower that to 5%. You shouldn't feel bad if you end up with a Shojin on Karma. Right now you feel really bad. You'll feel a little less bad. Bramble Vest. This item sucks. 10 more armor. Will it be better? Yeah. Will it be amazing? Might need to do more, but it gets 10 more. Dragon's Claw, same thing. Kind of sucks. Gets 10 more MR. Cool. Crown.
ممكن نرجع لميتا ارمر اللي هو برامبل فيست دراجون كلو وورماجز. ما اظن راح اظل I think راح نضلنا ناخذ نفس السيستم اللي احنا شغالين عليه هلا.
Crown Guard. This item has been overpowered for a while. You're going to get 10 less AP after the shield breaks. Crown Guard doesn't need to be as insane as it is. So Crown Guard almost gives as much AP as Death Cap. That's weird. Doesn't need that. And then Red Buff. This is another item where, which would you rather have on your Karma, Red Buff or Morello? The answer is Red Buff, which is weird and not good. Should be Morello, or at least close. So Red Buff is going to get nerfed, 3% less damage amp. So, yeah. And then one last change here, Unstable Treasure Chest. This item, a lot of the times what happens is you break it open, and then it flies towards the closest target who's at like 10% health and they die. And you don't get any items, and you're sad. So now it will be thrown to the highest percent health allies instead. So hopefully should land on like some backliners and take advantage of that and make Unstable Treasure Chest a little less troll. So, yeah.
احسن شوي. unstable treasure chest. على الاقل صارت البورتال ممكن تبعته وورث انها تتاخد، كانت جدا سيئة خاصة مع البف تبع الجولمز.
All right, augments. Augments, you're going to see a lot of nerfs. We're going to be trying to balance augments. We want to get to a world where there aren't any augments above like 4.2, at any stage. And so you're going to see a lot of nerfs here. Let's go through this. Precise planning. This is nerfed in the sense that you're not going to be getting 3 gold a turn from a silver augment, but buffed in the sense it's at least easier to activate. You only have to win by 4, or win or lose by 4 instead of 3. So that should be better. Risky moves, 3 less gold. Sag, I like that augment. Avenge the Fallen. The buff from 20 to 30 made it playable, which is great. Little too playable. So -2 to the stats. Not a big nerf. All right. And we're also at the point of the set where a lot of these crests are just really, really good, and we don't want to nerf the traits, we just want to nerf the...
شايف هذا اللي كنت احكي لك عليه. بلاستر بطلت تعطي ترستانا، كورونا بطلت تعطي زيليان، فيري بطلت تعطي ترستانا، فروست بطلت تعطي زيليان، هاني مانسي بطلت تعطي نونو، مالتي سترايكر بطلت تعطي كاسدن، بورتال بطلت تعطي كاسدين وبايرو بطلت تعطي اكالي. شالوا الشامبيونز اللي انت بتاخذهم من الكريستس من من الجولد كريستس احنا بنحكي قاعدين. لسه البريزماتيك في كمان نيرف عليهم.
The augments. So Blaster Crest, no free Tristana. Chrono Crest, no free Zillion. Fairy Crest, no free Tristana. Frost Crest, no free Zillion. Honeymancer Crest, no free Nunu. Multi Striker Crest, no free Cassidon. Portal Crest, no free Cassidon. Pyro Crest, no free Akali. These augments will be worse. Not a lot worse, but worse. And then Prize Fighter. The Prize Fighter buff worked. This augment went from unpickable to really, really good. So slight nerf. It's going to take a little longer to get those extra components. So Prize Fighter nerf. Continuing on, Eldridge got buffed a lot. I don't think we can have Eldridge be buffed a lot and School Mascot then give it 30% AP. That's kind of bonkers. So the AP gain from School Mascot's going to go down to 10%.
مشكلة انه Eldritch مش viable لسه. يعني انا شفت Eldritch مش شايف انا ليه. يعني هذا النيرف مش مستاهل والله. انا شايف انه لازم كان خلوه او قللوا النيرف. يعني سووها 20% بدل 10% من 30 ل 10. لازم سووها من 30 مثلا ل 20 او 30 ل 25 لا 20.
That augment was actually doing pretty well despite Eldridge being weak, so don't want all the power in that augment. All right, Support Golem 1. This augment has been broken for a while. It's gone. We'll talk about Support Golem 2 in a minute, but Support Golem 1, it's gone. Unleash the Beast, another really strong augment, 10% less attack speed. Winter is coming. This has been another really good augment. The way this works is, let's say your Frost Golems have 400 health. The Wolf has 130% of that, so 520. Now it'll just be the same. So this is a nerf to the health of that Frost Wolf. He'll be weaker. Witchcraft Crest no longer grants a Cassiopeia. And then Worth the Wait 1. This augment's really fun. Players really enjoy this augment, especially trying to go for a 4-star. But it's a bad augment, so we can buff it. So here, have 2 more copies. So, cool.
Worth the Wait صرت تاخذ 2 ستار من البداية. منيح. بالنسبة ل Winter's Coming يعني هي أصلا بعد ما غيروها من للولف إذا بدك تلعب 7 فروست أو 9 فروست هي وورثت. غير هيك 3 فروست ما مش وورث تاخذها أصلا. يعني مع هذا النيرف يعني أنا بصراحة الولف كله على بعضه مش حاسه إنه إشي كان يفرق كتير يعني.
And then on the prismatic side, same thing. A lot of these emblem ones are going to get nerfed. Blossoming Lotus Rose.
صح. Unleash the Beast. هاي كمان نيرف للوريورز. لأنه Unleash the Beast على الوريورز كانت ممتازة جدا. خاصة على فيورا. وعلى أولاف كمان ممتازة. وهيك أخذت نيرف. خلينا نشوف. أولاف يعني مقارنة بالفور كوست التانيين زي فيورا ولا جوين ولا فاروس ولا كاليستا ما كانش on par. ما كانش بنفس المستوى أصلا.
Real quick, kind of a weak augment will get 3% more crit. That should help it. But Blaster Crown, your Spear of Shojin is now a Tear of the Goddess. Chrono Crown, your Archangel Staff is now a needlessly large rod. Frost Crown, your Protector's Vow is now a chain vest.
الكراونز هاي النرف الثاني للكراون لما تاخذ اوجمنت فيها امبلم. على بريزماتيك كنت تاخذ فول ايتم. الان بناخذ نصاص.
Best. Your support, your champion goes from Swain to Zillion. Hard commit. This one is getting buffed. Instead of getting the unit after Carousel, you'll get it at the start of stage. So this should help it get a little earlier. Should be fine. Honeymancer Crown, Gargoyle Stone Plate becomes Chain Vest. So that's weaker as well. Living Forge, 1 more turn per artifact. We're so glad people are finally enjoying artifacts. It seems like they finally turned on. People are enjoying them. But a lot of these artifacts...
نيرف ليفينج فورج مش عارف ليش. يعني اوكي ليفينج فورج انت عم تاخذ 1 every 8 rounds which is يعني كل 2 rounds تقريبا تاخذ واحد. مش عارف ليش النيرف. ما عندي فكرة بصراحة. هيك راح تصفي انت اول 2 راوندز تاخذ، بعدين يعني تصفي بثلاثه ايتمز توتال من هون لراوند 6.
Fact augments are now way too strong because people figured them out. So one less turn, no big deal. Multi-striker crown, Quicksilver becomes a glove. Portal crown, Spear of Shojin becomes a tier. Pyro crown, IE becomes a BF sword. Okay, support golem 2. This is the big nerf. This augment has been basically the best pick anywhere. Who cares what your board is? Take this augment. It's always amazing. This is a very large nerf. It will go from 2 support items to 1 support item. It's basically the equivalent of what the gold one was. It might be garbage for a little bit. Let's wait and see. We did buff the golems as well. But yeah, this was way too good. And we
عم نتفرج على الباتش الجديد، النوتس، باتش نوتس. راح نلعب باستيونز وفانغاردز وبلاسترز كثير. فيريز انساهم خلاص، مش حنرجع نلعب فيريز. سبورت ايتمز ار جود. طبعا سبورت جولم واز يعني بتشوفها خدها 100% تانكز رانك. بس احمد بالسيتس اللي قبل كنت تبني انت تانك وتحط وراه كاري يتحمل ضرب. حاليا بالست اللي احنا فيها وشوجر كرافت، لازم تلعب شوجر كرافت. بالست اللي احنا فيها باستيون يوسلس، فانغارد صار يوسلس، شيب شيفتر از يوسلس، نو ركان، خلص ودع ركان.
we had to take a big swing here. We can't have every, competitive game decided by who got support golem too. So had to happen. We'll see where it's at. If we have to do more, we will. But even giving it like a normal item felt still too strong. So yeah.
نرجع للسبورت جولم. كنت تسأل عليهم بلال. سبورت جولم كان جدا يعني بتشوفه خده خلص، ما فيش اوبشن تاني. فاكر سايلس السيزون اللي فات يا عمي، زيح الطريق. سايلس بتحط كان هذولا برزيركرز كانوا او ايش اسمهم؟ برزيركرز. المهم بالضبط تانك دامج وبموتش وهيلينج وكله. في جيم لموردوغ لعبها امبارح، حضرت له اياها 8 باستيون. الامبلم حاطها على بروزر صح، بروزر مش برزيركر. الامبلم حطها على ووكونغ، حاطط الامبلم على ووكونغ وطلع له ريد بوس. ووكونغ عنده almost 800 ام ار وارمر.
Tiniest Titan Plus gets 7 more gold. No big deal. Upward mobility, 1 less health per turn per level up. Not a big deal. What the Forge, another artifact augment. This one we're just giving it 50% less health per artifact. Still fun. You still get lots of artifacts. You still get that extra anvil. And then the last augment here, Worth the Wait 2. Another terrible augment here. But I think this augment's going to be quite good now. A lot of the 2 costs got buffed. And the correct play here is once you get your 3-star, you're getting 2 gold a turn. 2 gold a turn is great for a prismatic on top of everything else. So that's great. But if you really want to be silly, you can chase the 4-star 2 cost. So you can chase that. But 2 gold a turn should be good.
لانه موردوغ حاليا هو كان انفولد في النيرفز. لا انا بالعكس، انا مبسوط على الابديت هذا، على الباتش هذا مبسوط عليه. بس وورث ذا ويت الان استلم على 2 كوست 4 ستار. راح نشوف كثير 2 cost 4 star.
All right, charms. As always, we're adding 3 new charms, but I do want to call out, this is the last batch. There are no more new charms coming after this. So, charms, you've been fun. That's it. No more new charms. But here's the last 3. Combat Mastery, 2 gold. Next combat, gain 1 XP for each enemy your team kills. This doesn't appear in Hyper Roll. But, so if you can kill, 7 enemies, 8 enemies, ends up being worth it. Golden Armor. For 1 gold, your units gain 50 HP for every 10 gold you have. So if you're sitting at 50 gold, 250 HP for teams, pretty good for 1 gold. And then kind of my favorite of the last batch is Scope Expansion. Your units in the back 2 rows gain +2 range. Pretty fun with Olaf, we've seen. But yeah, you get that. If you like that old scoped augment, there you go. All right, couple minor adjustments here. Barrier is going to cost 1 less gold. It hasn't been as powerful as we've seen it. Judgment is going to cost 2 less gold. Chariot's going to cost 1 less gold. And the Moon is going to cost 2 more gold.
هايبر رول كثير سريعة انك تسوي فيها 3 كوست مش 4 كوست. يعني لا ما اظن ما مستحيل تسوي فيها 4 كوست 2 ستار بالذات.
So some slight adjustments there. And then finally, sorry, Hyper Roll players, Study Hard should not have been appearing in Hyper Roll. That caused a lot of issues. That is fixed. Study Hard will not appear in Hyper Roll. Sorry about that. For those of you playing the 5.5 Revival, there are a couple small balance changes here. Vayne is getting buffed, a little more damage. Nocturne is getting buffed, some more attack speed if he hits 1 target. Draven's getting a pretty big buff. Poor Draven, the worst 4 cost. Rel is getting a slight nerf at 2 star. Viego 3 is getting buffed significantly. I won't spoil the surprise, but if you hit Viego 3 and went 5th with this, sorry about that. The team made some improvements to Viego. Skirmisher 10 gets buffed. And then all 3 versions of Pandora's items have been disabled. So, no Pandora's for you. And then finally, bug fixes. We fixed tooltips for What the Forge and Emblem Arcana variant.
I mean ليش تاخذ اكس بي بهايبر رول انت قاعد؟
To specify they work differently with any tactician's item, not just tactician's crowns. Honeymancer bees no longer repeatedly fire if their target was shielded. This is a wild bug that was actually making Honeymancer better than intended against shielded targets. If the bees fired and hit a shielded target, they would just keep firing at 3 Honeymancer. It's one of the reasons why 3 Honeymancer looks so much better in the data. So expect 3 Honeymancer to actually be a little worse now. Fixed various issues with the Overachievers portal. So Overachievers should actually be playable now. The Shen augment, so many bugs with this thing, but no longer considers benched units when targeting. So Shen hero augment should be better. Fixed a bug where mages could have less starting mana than intended. That's another buff to mages. Fix some mana interactions with 10 mage. Someone in my chat was talking about this. If you had like a blue buff on them or you got counterspelled, it would revert back. That all works now. 10 mage is still really, really strong.
Mages كمان مرة fix 2 bugs عليهم غير البفس اللي أخذوهم غير البف تبع فيكس. راح نرجع نشوف mages بنلعب كمان مرة.
Torment of Souls Arena, center texture no longer disappears. Plot Holes of Redemption, we fixed an issue where it was healing a flat amount. The Road Not Traveled has been fixed. Augment Road Redemption automatically completing on first death. Fixed Forgotten, units visually losing their stacks when benched and returned to Arena. And then fixed 1-cost hero augments on Dawn of Heroes not being uniquely offered in the augment phase. So there you go. Like I said, it's a patch that has a lot of changes if you count the number of changes, but I don't think it's actually going to wildly change things. A lot of the strong comps will still be strong, but hopefully more things are playable, right? Like Bastions should be playable. Some of those low-cost units should be able to come back. Mages certainly on the top of my radar. Like I said, if mages end up wildly broken, we will react very quickly. Could be another one of those even like day of patch micro patches. So I'll keep you updated, but definitely want to keep an eye on that. And yeah, but like this is where we're at in the set, right? You're not going to see giant reworks. You're not going to see crazy things like that. You're just going to see micro adjustments of 2 AD or 3 AD. So yeah, there you go. That's the patch. And like I said, we're getting close to the end. We're getting really close to the end, actually.
patch جميل.
Things are happening as the month goes on, so yeah, should be good. All right, that's gonna do it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Good luck on your climb as we wrap up the end of the set, and good luck to all the competitors who are going to be doing their like regionals and stuff like that as we come towards the end, and we'll see who makes worlds as we always do. So, all right, that's gonna do it for me. Until next time, take it easy.
اوكي الباتش من اللي شفناه فانغارد بلاسترز ميجز شوجر كرافت باستيونز جدا جميلة. انا عجبني الابديت لانه اللي كنا عايشين فيه قبل هو عبارة عن العب فيريز العب كرونو سوري العب فيريز العب كرونو و 6 ووريرز فليكس كاليستا and that's it. اذا لعبت اي شيء تاني ممكن تجيب 5 unless انك عملت هاي رول مش طبيعي وجبت كل التيم 3 ستار بس هذا هي. ويتش كرافت وقعوا كانوا 8 ويتش كرافت كانوا قويين جدا بطل صاروا يوسلس. فروست 9 اذا لعبت 7 ممكن بس بدك برضو هاي رول بدك يعني على الاقل تجيب 2 ستار اولاف بسرعه. بدك 3 ستار سوين مثلا. حاليا في تحسن. حاليا كمان ممكن تلعب مع الباتش الجديد يوم الاربعاء ممكن تلعب شيب شيفترز. ممكن تلعب سندرا ترى اخذت باف بس خسرت اتاك سبيد. لساتها خسرانه الاتاك سبيد اللي النرف اللي اخذته بالباتش الثانيه. بس الدمج تبعها حاليا اعلى من الدمج اللي كان عندها في الباتش الاولى اللي هي كانت دومينيتنج. فسندرا كيب ان اي اون سندرا. شوجر كرافت بلايبل 100%. ووريرز اخذوا شويه نيرفز. اخذوا نيرف على انليش ذا بيست اخذت نيرف. فيورا اخذت نيرف. جوين اخذت نيرف. 6 وورير اخذت نيرف. فمش عارف 6 وورير اذا لساتها فايبل ولا لا. او ممكن تكون فايبل مثلا تضمن لك فورث ثيرد بس مش فيرست. شوجر كرافت العب شوجر كرافت. انت بس مدمن شوجر كرافت اصلا. بس هلا حاليا مع البافس اللي اخذوهم خاصه الباف تبعت التو ان كان بالضبط شيب شيفتر انكانتر از ان اوبشن. تقدر تلعب شيب شيفترز مع سندرا 3 مع ايش اسمها كارما. نرجع لموضوع شوجر كرافت. 2 شوجر كرافت حاليا صارت تعطي بدال 2 بوينتس لكل بارت اوف ان ايتم صارت تعطي 3 بوينتس لكل بارت اوف ان ايتم. يعني للفول ايتم بدل ما كانت تعطي 4 صارت تعطي 6. فانت بدايه اذا عندك 2 شوجر كرافت وبدك تبلش تلعب شوجر كرافت you slam the items very fast وممكن تجيب ماكس كيك بسرعه حتى لو عندك 2 شوجر كرافت which is very good. على الاقل نرجع نلعبها. هذيك اليوم لعبت 6 شوجر كرافت almost full cake وجبت 6 سيء. anyway thank you for watching. الساعة 9:30 بالليل عندي. انا لازم اروح. انا مش متغدي ولا مفطر. بدي اروح اكل. نراكم ان شاء الله بكرة في نفس التوقيت 6 بتوقيت الامارات 5 بتوقيت السعودية.